Welcome back, YouTube. When it comes to health and fitness goals, one of the main things we have to get control over is our calorie intake. Okay, whether your goal is adding muscle mass, dropping body fat, energy balance is going to play a part within that goal. Okay, and energy balance is going to come down to two main things, which is energy in and energy out. So energy in, therefore calories in, are a big part of the equation that we need to take control over. And one way to do that is to track your intake on some level. Okay, now a very common way to track your intake is using apps such as MyFitnessPal, where you're going to track your information to have a good idea of how many calories you're taking in each day. That can be a big part of people's goals. Now, one of the main things you have to do is make sure we're being as accurate as possible, because if we're tracking and getting data back that's inaccurate, it's not really going to help us in any way. Okay, so what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to walk you through 3 of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to tracking their food intake, so therefore you don't make them, and therefore your accuracy is going to be on point. Don't forget, if you do enjoy the video, please drop a like and a comment, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe. Okay, the first mistake people make is that they don't track the information in the same state as they weigh it. So what I mean by this is, let's take pasta for an example. If you're weighing it as uncooked, so you weigh it before you cook it, when you're entering that data into, again, an app that you might be using, you need to make sure that you're tracking it in that same state, so as uncooked. And if it doesn't specify it on the app or the food item that you're including, I would double check with an item that is specified as uncooked, okay? Because the differences between it being cooked and it being uncooked in terms of calories in relation to weight can be massively different, okay? And if you're weighing something as cooked but entering it as uncooked or vice versa, the differences can be way off, and you can be looking at, again, it's very independent on the type of food that you're entering, but the calorie differences can be like in the hundreds. So make sure that you are entering it in the same state, whether that's cooked or uncooked, as you weigh it. Hidden calories, okay? So one of the biggest mistakes people make is that they're simply not adding things within their intake because it's going under the radar, okay? That's either maybe because of lack of knowledge and them not understanding that what they're consuming actually contains calories, or 2, it might be because we're adding things here and there that are so easy just to add and not think about, that we're not tracking it, and therefore those calories are going unnoticed and hidden. Classic examples of this might be stuff like oils or sauces, or even liquids. Typically those things are also going to be quite high and dense in calories. You can get alternatives that aren't, which might be a good option, especially if you're in a fat loss phase. But these things that typically go unnoticed or are hidden can also be quite high in calories, and therefore if we're not including them, then what we think we're hitting in terms of a calorie amount, it actually might be considerably higher than that. So just make sure whatever you're taking in, whether that's liquid form, solid form, anywhere in between, is tracked, okay? Especially obviously if it includes calories, it is tracked. Just that way, no calories are going to go hidden, no calories are going to go untracked. And number 3, simply, it can be very easy to forget, okay? So, you know, it's not uncommon, and I've done this multiple times myself, if we're snacking here or there, or we're having things, you know, that maybe aren't necessarily we're used to, out of routine, out of plan, it's very easy to have those things and then completely forget about tracking it, okay? We come to the end of the day, you know, we look at our food intake, we're like, sweet, we've hit target, but we forgot that we maybe had, you know, a bite of a couple things here and there, and therefore our calories are actually higher than what we think. So we need to make sure that, you know, however we go about tracking our food intake, we're doing it in a manner that allows us to make sure that we are being on the ball with tracking everything that we're taking in that is containing calories, okay? A good way around this is to make sure that we're trying to pre-track in advance, okay? So you're always pre-tracking food intake before you're actually consuming it. Because, you know, that way you're not going to have a food item and not track it because it's already going to be tracked before you're consuming it. That's one way to get about it. Obviously that's not always going to be the case. You're not always going to be able to do that. But, you know, it removes that potential issue of having something and then forgetting to track it later down the line. So I would always try and pre-track where possible, you know, as far in advance as possible. For example, like, you know, on the morning of that day, if you know what you're going to have, you can track it all before you go forward. It also then allows you to have a look at the targets and if you can adjust things if needed and whatnot. But it's gonna remove the potential issue of having something and then forgetting to track it. So there's potentially the 3 biggest issues or mistakes people make when it comes to tracking calories. Okay, so make sure you track food in the same state as you weigh it. Make sure you're tracking everything that you're taking in to remove the chance of hidden calories. And then try, if you can, to pre-track things. Track things in advance so you don't forget to track anything that you have taken in. Hopefully this video has helped. If you do have any other questions, like I said at the beginning, please do drop a comment. Please drop a like if it did help. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. Take care.